Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. So in this episode, we're of course on Ole Blue, and in our line of sheet metal work, of course we got the front floor pan and the cab mount support in. Now we're going to move back to the cab corner. So basically we're going to replace, we're going to have to cut out a section and install the new one. We're very lucky. The cab corners on this aren't too terrible. They didn't take out the rocker panel or the pillar support, so we're very fortunate there. So this will be relatively easy by comparison. One thing to note on the step side trucks, or flare side, whatever they call them, they have this extra little piece in here, and that's because the bed doesn't come all the way to the body line on the step side like the regular body truck does. You've got a little step plate right here. So they have this little filler panel in here. It's just riveted in by 1, 2, 3, 4 rivets. Not a whole lot to it there. So first thing we'll do is drill that out, and then we can start worrying about where we're going to mark and put our cut line for the replacement cab corner. So as I said, there's just rivets. I've already drilled this one out. And just drill them out. And use your right size drill bit. A little bigger than an 1/8. You'll be able to just drill the head off of it, and that'll get you through. Drill the head off of it, then you can just pop the rivet through and your panel will come right up. And you're going to run into some seam sealer, and in this case a patch that somebody welded in at some point in the past. Compensate for some rust. So we'll just take and set this aside, and then we'll clean it up and blast any BS off of it, get it back to good nick. And we don't need to worry about these rivets because we're going to replace all that up to probably about here. And let's get cracking. All right, the next step is we're going to clean the paint off of here and identify where all our spot welds are. The best way I found to do this actually is with a wire wheel rather than a grinder or a sanding disc. If you get a good cut wheel and put on your angle grinder, it just cleans all that paint and loose rust and scale off. Anyway, we've identified our spot welds. We got one here, maybe one here. Can't tell for sure, but it's all rusted through. Here, and here. So we'll get cracking and drill all those out. And then there's going to be probably one under here too somewhere. But I'll get these out first and then we'll go from there. What I find is real helpful is rather than just using a punch and putting a dimple in the middle of the weld, I'll take a drill bit and start me a real good divot there. And that really helps hold the that rivet cutting tool in place. Now that could be just because my punch is dull, but either way it works for me. So we've got our 2 spot welds out here. And oops, I missed one. Look at that. So, but we got all the rest of them out over here, and this is away. So I'll get this last one out, and then we're gonna cut right along here along this line, this change in body line. So it'll be a little bit easier, I hope, to you know, hide the transition there. All right, so once we have our line established where we're going to cut, I was hoping I could cut down here in a curve, but that ain't gonna work, but that's okay. We'll get it here. And so we're going to cut this section out here, and that'll be the removal of that cab corner. Now what you have to deal with is seam sealer, provided you got all your welds. And you see some more of that sand that's hiding in there from where we blasted. We'll get that with a vacuum cleaner. And so that's that. And that doesn't look too terrible on the outside, but if you look on the inside, you can see where that ruster's really working on it. So, and we'll vacuum all our sand out of here. It's really actually a good testament to that Z-bar stuff, because if you can get that Z-bar in everywhere, it will protect the body. So, all right, we're going to clean this up, see how bad this is, and then clean everything else up, and then get ready to cut our new cab corner. We'll have to flange this and get it to take the new cab corner piece, because we don't want a lump right here. We want this as flat, smooth as we can get it. When taking this piece off here, we kind of mock this up to get a reference mark, either on, well, both on this end edge here and this edge here. And once we did that, then we can make a mark on our new piece and then scribe straight across all the way around so we know where to cut. Now the way I did that was by taking the old piece, okay, and bending anything out of the way that would get in the way, all right, and essentially setting this in like so, and getting a generic reference here. So it's a little tricky, but if you do your measuring right and then err on the side of caution, where you can always grind a little bit off, or, you know, rather than have to put it back, you know, you'll do okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to clamp our new piece down here and then make our cut. And when you clamp this thing down, always make sure you use a clamp that has cushies on it, because you don't want to wrench that thing down and then put a dent in here that you're going to have to fix later. Well, we've got our new cab corner in. I've got my seam sealer everywhere it needs to be. And the next step now is going to be using our body filler to cover our weld seam. So we've made it as shallow as possible. We don't want a ton of Bondo on there or anything, but yeah, we still need to, you know, of course, touch that up. So moving right along. And today, while I was at work, I got a call from the freight company, and I got a package. And what this is this should be our front radiator core support and a bunch of grill plastic stuff for the front end. So let me put this camera back on a tripod here and I'll flop it over and we'll unbox it. Huh? As you can see, I'm not in my usual MacGyver's workshop livery. I'm actually in my work outfit today. Package got delivered and it came via truck freight, so they were nice enough to go ahead and deliver it at my work, which was very handy because I just had to take the truck to work. And you know, it's easy for the driver. He just backs up to the loading dock, and of course I know the receiving guys, you know, they're like, oh yeah, no problem. So it's a big old giant box though. It's I'm gonna lay this thing over, I think this way probably is the best way to do this. I'm gonna open it up. So we've got our left and right headlight bezels. And of course we have our center grill section and the pretty little piece that goes down in here that is always dented up and rotten and rusted every time you get a project vehicle in. And then the main section of the grill. I really wanted to try to save the old pieces, but the plastic had perished so much in that it was so brittle. I mean, every time you just so much as looked at it or breathed on it, it was trying to crack and split and all that. So remarkably, these weren't terribly expensive. So went ahead and got it, and it looks sharp, that's for sure. It's really gonna make the front of this truck pop. You know, having those new new trim pieces in there. And of course, the other thing I was hoping to do, and it's just a personal thing, I like being able to recondition the old emblems, you know, but these were, unfortunately, they were just too far gone. But hey, you know, it's an original it's an original Ford part, so I'm still legal, right? And of course that little honey goes right there, so she'll just look as good as the day she was new. And I'm real happy with it. I'm proud of it. Real proud of it when it gets done. Then of course we've got our steering stabilizer. This one had the original truck had a steering stabilizer on there. Doesn't look like it came stock with it, but it was a bit of a challenge finding one that would match the original. But when you say steering stabilizer, I mean all it is a shock absorber basically. And what it does is it just gives your steering a little bit more weighty feel, a little more, you know, feels a little more positive, a little more, you know, stable. And you know, the Fords, you know, with that twin traction beam suspension, you know, they tended to you know, feel a little squirrely going down the road, and that steering stabilizer really helps out a lot. So all right, let's look at our radiator core support. I was really glad I was able to get this, especially as reasonable as it was. The problem with them is that they all rot right out here in the mounts where they mount to the frame. And what happens is when they rust, then they warp and they shift, and play heck getting the fenders to line up and the front grille and all that stuff. So I'm just happy that we were able to get a new one of these, and it's just, not to mention, looks better too. So, and of course from there we've got some other bits and bobs. Like I said, we got those bits and pieces for the putting that, actually there's a piece of it right over there. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of like that jute, you know, matting or whatever, and acts as like a sound insulation from the firewall. And these little clips just kind of pop through the firewall, and they got a big head on them, and they just hold that padding up against the firewall. And between that and the Dynamat, it's going to be nice and quiet, a nice quiet ride inside that truck. So, all right. I guess one last thing I want to show you is the carnage from the cab here. We've got our floor pan, or what's left of it. That's it was pretty rotted out there. But, you know, I'm from the north, so I get it. You know, it's you know, up north, people aren't really big about their cars, you know, because you know it's going to be a short-term relationship, because I mean, as soon as you drive it off the lot, the thing's going to start rusting. And then we got our cab support that was all rotted through. Eventually what happens with those is they finally rot through to the point where they won't support the cab anymore, and then the cab collapses, and yeah, it just looks terrible. So anywho,